Peace, family. I'm back. And I am joined by our dear sister, Maureen Craft, who is running for a city council seat in the city of Elk Grove. Good morning, Maureen. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing great. I am doing really good.
Well, good. How are things going for you in your campaign?
Well, I think things are going great. You know, we are doing the things that that are necessary. You know, we're can't stop, won't stop. We're walking precincts. We're calling voters. We're text banking voters. We are just trying to get the word out. I hope everyone has seen all of our posts on social media. And we're just trying to get the word out that, you know, that we are running a very strong campaign and one that is above board, and just letting everybody know what we're all about.
So what made you decide to run for this city council seat?
Well, as you know, I ran in 2016. And prior to this has been a part of my purpose. You know, people always ask, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? You know, I want to be a city council member since I probably was in the seventh grade. And I grew up in San Francisco. And at the time, Mayor Dianne Feinstein was the mayor of San Francisco. She was the first female mayor of San Francisco. And so she would come to visit the junior high schools if you were part of the city council. And I was like, I told my friend Irene, I said, we have to meet the mayor of this city. And so we ran for our student council and became officers in the 8th grade. And from there, it is something that I have wanted to do. And I wanted to run. I lived in Central Valley for a little bit because I went to Fresno State, and I wanted to run then. And at the time, I thought I would have the opportunity. I had to move back towards Northern California because I knew that, you know, as the only daughter, my mom would be retiring and shortly, and I'd be the person who'd be her caregiver at some point. So I had to make that decision. And so after moving to Elk Grove, I thought, you know, now is the time. I started to be active in the community, and I ran in 2016 against the incumbent, came in second place, and I never stopped running. I said, you know what, I'm going to be the voice for the people. I'm going to continue to speak up about what is right, demand transparency, and demand that the city council do the right thing. And if I'm demanding that the city council do the right thing, who better yet than me to then sit on that city council?
Right on. What does city council members do?
Well, I mean, city council members do a lot of things. You know, city council is responsible for the governance of the city. So city council members talk about business, taxes, and anything that has to do with the governance of the city. It's a very broad scope as to what a city council member does. First and foremost, what a city council member should do is listen to the constituents, because we are elected officials. We didn't elect ourselves. We are elected officials. We are here to serve. So we deal with a lot of the running of the city.
Right on, right on. So with that being said,
yes.
What platforms are you running on for this seat?
Well, I mean, for me, the first thing that I'm running on is transparency in local government. I think it is definitely a responsibility of a city council person to be transparent about what is going on. I think a lot of times people just live in the city and they don't know what's going on. So I would like to be that voice to allow people, you know, to know what we're making decisions on. I also am running on housing and homelessness, because Elk Grove is seeing an uptick in homelessness, but let's talk about housing as it relates to COVID. Right now, we're going into these winter months and we're going to see a lot of people being evicted from homes. A lot of the homeless in this area or around the world are women and children. And the last thing that I want to see are women and children on the street, and for that matter, anybody on the street. And so right now, as I have checked in with the Sacramento Housing Alliance, Elk Grove is due for at least 4,000 more affordable housing units. Rent is so expensive these days at $1,600-$1,800. Those are mortgages. So that is part of my platforms, just to find a solution in this area as to what we can do about housing and also homelessness. We have a lot of our homeless leaving Sacramento to come to Elk Grove. And because they feel like the streets of Elk Grove are a little bit safer for them. And so they are coming here. And then the other platform item that I have is job creation and workforce development. It's one thing to say that we are bringing companies and jobs to Elk Grove, but if they're part-time $12 an hour jobs, those jobs they can barely feed you, and they are definitely not going to provide you shelter. I want to work with corporations who are going to bring competitive jobs that will allow our community to have prevailing wages so that they can afford housing, afford amenities. So those are some of the things that I'm working on. Of course, transportation and traffic and all of those things, those come with it, but those are some of the main things that I'm focusing on.
So do city council members work in anything to do with the schools here in Elk Grove?
Not necessarily, and that's why we have our school board. I would like to work with the school board because all of these things work in conjunction with each other. When you have students and families who are needing housing and those types of things, then they should be working with the city council. We should be working as one cohesive unit. And it always kind of perplexed me as to why we always worked separate and aside from each other when it's one city. We have different components of the city that we're all responsible for, and we should work as a team to bring all those things together.
So why should people vote for you? What is it that's going to make you so much more special than all of the other candidates that's out there running with their signs all over the place?
Right. And we say signs everywhere. For me, I'm the best candidate. I have to say that I'm the best candidate for Elk Grove City Council. I have experience in local government. I was the vice president of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. I understand business. I understand governance. And I am the only candidate that has been really doing the work. I show up to the city council meetings. I keep the city council, accountable for the things that they are supposed to do for us. If they are not doing the things that they do for us, I post that. I tell everyone that I can. And I'm the person who is definitely going to be in the city, having the relationship, building the relationships with our community. We cannot continue to have a city council that just makes decisions based on what they think. We're once again elected officials, community servants, and we need to be meeting with the community and talking about what the issues are that are important to them, and then bringing those things back and making decisions on them.
So what is your position on police? So we know that in some of our communities, mainly across the country, police is a big issue. Defunding the police is a big issue. What are your positions on those?
Well, let's talk about this. Elk Grove is so many times compared to Sacramento. And what most people don't know is Elk Grove Sacramento is 3 times larger than Sacramento. Our population is 180,000. 108,000 people. And last year in Elk Grove, we had one murder. So I think our policing situation looks a little bit different. I'm already in contact with the chief of police. Elk Grove, we talked about, my whole thing is that with the police department, people are talking about defunding. We talk about reallocating resources. I think that it is important that you have someone who's going to work alongside the police department. I think where I look at it for Elk Grove, we need more training. We do definitely need more training on equity, diversity, inclusion. And I worked with the city council 2 years ago to have the city do a diversity and inclusion audit, because I did not feel that we had proper representation across the board through the city employees or through the police department. We should have a police department that looks like the 7th most diverse city in California. So I spoke to the police chief, the prior police chief, Noblet, and am having conversations with our current police chief about, talking about our use of force policy, our body cam policies, and what are our diversity and hiring policies, because those are some of the things that we need to work on in Elk Grove. I think every city is specific. They have different needs, and I want to call for community forums that will address some of our concerns as we see what is going on nationally.
Right on. That I think that's probably a really big one. So you're in District 3?
Yes.
So what area is District 3? What is that? I mean, how does that round?
So District 3 encompasses 2 high schools, which would be Laguna Creek and Monterey Trails. We start off at Franklin Boulevard, Franklin and a little north of that, Franklin and Bighorn. And we go from Franklin and Bighorn across Bruceville to Sheldon, all the way down Sheldon on the right-hand side, all the way down to Elk Grove, Florin Boulevard, over to Bond, and back over. We come back to Bighorn and back around. So it's a pretty large. It's a pretty large district. District 3 is one of the most diverse districts in this community. And so therefore, that's why I think they need my representation.
So is it possible, and I'm pretty sure you can answer this, because we know that in California, 7 out of 10 homes in California is owned by a person of Asian ancestry. And in Elk Grove, there's a high number of Asians. There's a high number of Indians who own homes. I don't know what that percentage is for Black folks in terms of how many homes we own here in Elk Grove. But what can be done to ensure that more people can buy homes in Elk Grove?
Once again, I really believe we have to talk about prevailing wages. We have to talk about, when we start to talk about communities of color, we have to talk about what our earning power is in relationship to what other races earning power is. We 50s, I think it's 52 cents on the dollar is what we make in comparison to our Caucasian counterparts. But when we talk about owning more homes, I think we have to work with the realtors. I think we have to work with how do we become first-time home buyers? How do we look at, gaining access to housing? I think it's possible. I think there's programs out there that are available that will allow for that. I think it's bringing the education into the community and then helping people have the ability to buy homes.
Okay, so I understand your answer. This was not like white people. I'm talking about there are other people of color. So I said Asian Indians from India owning a lot of property here in Elk Grove. But when it comes to black people, we're all so-called of color. I don't believe in the term of color. I just got to start defunking that right now. I know that's a political term.
I believe in black people and I believe in people of color.
If you say of color, that you kind of erase black people because you could just say, hey, people of color are owning homes, but we know black people are struggling to buy homes.
Absolutely.
So is there any way that in terms of when you get into this politics, I think black folks almost have to be a protected class because how interesting we have kicked the door open for everyone and we still can't buy homes.
I agree.
That's kind of disheartening.
Right.
So what would make a person want to believe to go out there and check Maureen Craft's box, which I'm going to do because I live in your district. But, what will make people do that? Because we need some real champions. We need some people that's going to be like, y'all, this ain't right. Forget all that political mumble. This ain't right.
And that's it, Rolanda. You know me. You've known me. I have been a person who has been above board, a person who speaks out when things are not right. I want to bring opportunities into the community, education into the community to assist in helping others and championing others. I mean, it is one of my sole purposes of being on the city council. I want it to look like I want it to look different. It has to look different. We cannot be okay with the status quo. And we have just gone on doing the same thing over and over and over, getting no results or results that don't work for us. And so, so for someone to check my box, you must know that I'm going to be a person who has an open door system. You can call me, you can ask any question of me, and I'm going to answer it. I'm going to try to find a solution. I'm a resourceful person, and Ro, we've had many conversations over the years. I have brought resources. I donate money. I donate clothes. I do whatever I can to help the community.
Which we know is major.
Exactly. And with my own knowledge, I would like to show people how to purchase homes. It is doable. If you are paying $1,800, $1,600 a month in rent, you can own a home. And we have to stop letting that credit score stop us. There are so many programs and so many other opportunities that you have, and people want you to believe that you cannot be a homeowner. And what we do know about being a homeowner, once you're a homeowner, you have now started to acquire equity. And that equity allows you the power to do other things. And so, so I want to definitely be that person who will help you get that information. And if I can't get it for you, I will get you someone who can assist you in doing that.
Right on. If you're joining us, we are talking to Maureen Craft, who is running for Elk Grove City Council seat in District 3, which is the district in which I'm in. So thank you so much for joining me as we wrap this up. When we go offline, don't hang up right away. But tell us why? What will you bring to this city council one more time as we wrap up?
Everyone, if you are watching, if you watch this on a recorded version, I need you to vote for me because I am the voice of the people. I am the voice that the people need. I'm going to bring you transparency, honesty, and I'm a person with high integrity. I'm the person who has been doing the work in this community over the last 7 years. I have held the city council accountable, so why not me on that city council to be the voice that you need to move Elk Grove forward? Thank you.
Thank you, family. I shall be back with my Vang at 11:30. Y'all, we're talking voting today. We're talking about who's running for these seats, and we're talking about accountability and making our communities much better than they've ever been by putting people in office that can help us. Peace, family. We'll be back.